hello there, and I hope you're having a lovely time with your family. And if you're working, you're just driving or going towards home because it's a few minutes to curfew time. My name is Sarah Otieno. Thank you so much for tuning in to This Is the Day.
And I'm Frederick Njiri. That's where you're supposed to ask me. Now, Fred, what are we doing? All right, it's crazy. 3 weeks down the line, we still have estates in Nairobi that are yet to be reconnected back to the water line. And we are going to find out exactly what is happening and, the solution to this. And then human rights activists are now saying that there's an increase in the incidence of child abuse, both sexual and just physical abuse among children. And this is mostly happening, guess where? Just here in Kiambu. And then we'll also find out what you need to do to make yourself indispensable in the office place. Now, remember, over 500,000 people have been let off. So what do you need to do to make yourself almost indispensable?
Yeah.
So we'll be looking at this and much more.
All right, the WhatsApp number to use is 0786316316, SMS line 20316, on Facebook and Twitter at Family Radio 316. Just join our discussion today and we will get to know what is making headline across the country and also across the globe.
So now, Sarah, I've now gotten to a point where I truly believe that schools will not reopen anytime soon. This is after the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga urged the government not to rush to the decision to reopen schools, revealing that the move could be disastrous. Raila was speaking during an interview with a local radio station at his home in Karen, Nairobi, and touched on a number of issues, including the cushioning of those affected by the current pandemic. With the reopening of schools being a contentious issue in the country, as the public are divided on the exact date when this should happen, Raila said there is no hurry. And in fact said the current students can actually repeat their classes next year. Why are we rushing our children back to school for? Until, he says, until we are comfortable that everything has been put in place to ensure their safety, don't rush it. Let them stay at home. They can repeat next year. Now, when Raila speaks, you can be very, very sure that Education Cabinet CS, George Magoha, is going to
do something about his words.
Yes.
Well, this is an interesting topic, and I remember the other time we carried a story about this, and we were asking parents, would you let your children back to school if it reopens next week, because June is around the corner?
Sure.
And most of the parents were saying no. And one parent actually raised the concern and said, what about the money that we have already paid for this term and the next term, or maybe for the whole year? What happens to it if they are supposed to repeat? Are we expected to pay an extra coin? And how about the children? What are they feeling about this?
It's a tricky situation. There's a meme that has been doing rounds on social media with the parents asking whether it's safe to eat next term's fees. Well, let's see what happens now.
I would not advise on that. Well, let us head over to Kiambu County. Now, children rights crusaders operating in Kiambu County have raised concerns over the increased case of child abuse and domestic violence in the wake of this pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. According to the group, the number of children seeking refuge at rescue centers within the region of Kiambu, sharply owing to the domestic violence, physical violence, and even psychological violence at their homes, has really increased.
Currently we are having 43 children, among which 4 are abandoned babies who are abandoned at Thika level 5, and other cases are from physical abuse from their relatives. A family has a husband and a wife, and they are not having any source of income. The children are looking up to them, and this brings a lot of anxiety and stress, and it leads to a lot of physical violence and also emotional abuse, which trickles down to the children, and that's why you're finding a lot of children being physically abused. And even the fact that people are just, so many people are idle, and within the community, you find the cases of defilement also happening.
Well, this story reminds me of one that I saw on the social media, and it happened, I think, in Baringo, Kabarnet area. And it happened that a mother actually clobbered the son thoroughly, and he had injuries all over his body. And when the mom was asked, she just said, "Ni hasira tu." I don't know where it came from, but I was angry, and I didn't even realize it that I was hurting my son until I did it. What's happening?
It's a difficult question, and maybe something that we need to ponder about. Is this period that we are going through revealing who we are, in the fact that we are probably as violent and as we are seeing right now? Or is it whatever it is that we are going through that is causing us to do whatever it is that we are doing? Or are human rights activists just trying to become relevant by highlighting all these things? So it's a very strange situation. Are we just as violent? It's only that we needed something to trigger to reveal that we are violent? Or is it whatever is going through, what the country is going through, that is getting us to become violent against people we love? Or probably it's just human rights activists who want to become relevant, and so they keep on highlighting some of these things that would be happening anyway.
We want to know your views. What do you think is the reason for this increasing number against abuse of minors? 0786 316 316. That is on WhatsApp. SMS line 20316.
Okay, on to the COVID stories in this country. 2.5 months after the first coronavirus case was reported in Kenya, 64,264 samples have so far been tested. Out of that, 1,348 people have tested positive for the virus. This is after 62 more cases were reported in the last 24 hours. Health CAS Dr. Rashid Aman said this during a briefing today.
We have tested 2,293 samples, out of which 62 people have tested positive for COVID-19. This now brings to 1,348 the number of those who have so far tested positive, and the total number tested so far stands at 64,264. Out of these positives, 59 are Kenyans and 3 are foreign nationals. In terms of gender, 45 are male, while 17 are female. Age-wise, range from between 6 years for the youngest and 64 years for the oldest. We are glad to inform you that we have, as of today, discharged another 3 patients who have recovered from the disease, bringing the total number of those who have recovered to 405. We thank our healthcare workers for the good job done. Thank you.
Well, the CAS also retaliated that the government will take care of all the cost for testing, quarantine and treatment for positive persons in the government facilities. This is after noting that most people were reluctant of being tested because of the anticipated cost implications.
We have also noted that some of our people have been shy to present themselves for testing for fear of the treatment cost. The position of government on this matter is clear. For avoidance of doubt, let me restate once more. The cost of testing, quarantine, and treatment in a government facility will be fully met by government. Any information to the contrary is false and is aimed at misleading Kenyans.
Dr. Aman, however, raised concern over individuals providing incorrect personal information during the testing process.
Giving false contacts during targeted testing. We have talked about this in the last 2 briefings. And I want to reiterate that it is important to provide accurate information, because it is only through this that contact tracing is possible. Providing wrong information means that such individuals are continuing to spread the virus to their loved ones, their friends, and to the community. We are glad, though, that the majority of our people have responded to our call to come forward for testing. This is commendable, and we continue to appeal to all Kenyans to come out and get tested.
Now, Sarah, something baffles me. Why in the world would somebody give fake information? I mean, you've gone for testing, then you give out fake information and contacts.
I think, my opinion here, I think that the stigmatization that comes with the virus, coronavirus, is making people a little bit, I don't know whether to call it scared, or now people are just becoming fishy in such a way that they will give out fake information so that they are not traced after testing. You know, and I feel like this is a wrong move by anyone to do, because if we want to contain this virus in our country, we all just need to be genuine.
Then why go for the testing if you're not even going to know the results? You know, that's
It's very unfortunate.
I don't understand, but anyway, as you say, quite a number of people will say the devil made me do it.
That's interesting. Well, remember, today we are asking the question, what do you think is the reason for the increased number of abuse in minors, and especially in Kiambu, where such cases have been reported to be in the increase? We just want to know your views. 0786 316 316. That is on WhatsApp, SMS line 20316.
Is it because we are naturally violent and this has just revealed what we are?
Yeah.
Or is this driving us to be violent? Or the civil society groups are using this
To publish.
Yes.
To just publish information.
Just,
well, we asked a question, and we have Joseph from Kiserian texting in and saying, praise God, Sarah and Fred. I'm happy to be tuned in, and we are happy that you're tuned in too, Joseph. And he's saying, it's a trying time, a time full of desperation and stress. I think we should talk about mental health and self-awareness. Most families are not equipped on how to deal with issues when under pressure. It's time that we keep checking on our relatives, call them to see how they're doing. Let's be vigilant, and remember, this too shall pass. That is Joseph from Kiserian. We have my friend Fanuel. Thank you so much for tuning in, Fanuel. And he says, my view, I think stress and being overwhelmed with the situation around us could be the cause of the violence. We also have Martin Dungu from Gikomba tuned in today, and we have Elvis Wakisumu. Asante sana for tuning in today.
yeah, Martin from Gikomba, we need to talk to you. I need a pair of shoes. Let's see how we can deal. Anyway, we'll do that later on. The $1 million question that we are asking today, because there's a school of thought that says that the violence that has been reported, the increase in violence, is just this situation has revealed who we are.
Yep.
And another school of thought says that it is the pressure that is taking us to do whatever it is that people are doing, the violence, sexual violence, and all that. So, two schools of thoughts on the same thing, and would like to know what you think about the same.
0786 316 316. That is on WhatsApp. SMS line 20316. The next story is about a guy that I would say is a blessing to Kenyans. He is a physically challenged landlord in Majengo, Nairobi area, and he has waived half rent for all his tenants, and his 2 taxi drivers no longer have to report to him with how much they have collected at the end of the day. His name is Elijah Ntoko Iwan. This is a Maasai name. I know it's very tricky. Ntoko Iwan, and he joins the list of new and few house owners who have taken it upon themselves to ease the pressure for their tenants during this pandemic. Listen in.
Kwa majina yangu naitwa Julia Nyambura. Saidi ya yote mimi nimeokoka na Yesu ni Bwana. Nataka kusema ni asante kwa sababu kwa sababu ya baba ya Elijah ametusaidia, tukawa tumekaa kwa hii broti yake miezi 2 bila kulipa, na saa hii tumesikia vile amesema tuongee kila mtu, yani tulipe nusu. Sisi tunasema Mungu aishi ambariki na amtende makuu.
Mimi ni mtu ambayo naishi na disability, na mimi ni landlord hapa Narok Town, na nilikuwa nimejitolea kupatia tendano wangu mwezi 2 kwa sababu ya corona, na pia madereva yangu nikapatia waendeshe tu magari na ile kitu ambayo watapata wachukue kama limit, kwa sababu ya janga la corona ambayo imetisha dunia mzima.
Oh man, I wish he was my landlord, Aki.
You know.
You can imagine, and it's such a, you know, during this period we have seen, you know, different kinds of people. He's a man who just brings out and shows kindness, unbelievable kindness. And at the same time, we have situations where people have manifested something else apart from kindness. But this is what Christ, I guess, would do if he was a landlord anywhere. I wish he was in my area, because I think I would not be paying rent today. But anyway, that's what life and this period is manifesting. And you know something? There's a very ridiculous thing that happened in Kiambu, unfortunately, Kiambu County again. I think it was around 2 days or 3 days ago. There was a Range Rover, a Land Cruiser actually, that was distributing food. It purported to be coming from the Deputy President William Ruto and one of the MPs from the area called, I think, Kimani Ichung'wah. And some of the food that was distributed was, after that, said to have been, part of it was contaminated. And there's a CCTV footage that JDL is going to play in a short while of the van distributing the food and all that. The Deputy President and his camp came out and actually said that they were not involved in that. But the vehicle was captured by CCTV distributing food. And now Kimani Ichung'wah and the DP's people are saying the DCI needs to move in with speed and establish the owner of that vehicle. There has been a lot of speculation as to who, but it's one thing that I cannot say on air because I'm not a person from the DCI. I've not investigated. But yeah, that is, the food ended up poisoning some people. In the video, unfortunately, you can't see it on radio, but I can explain to you what you're seeing right now. Actually, what is happening? You can see a Land Cruiser. The number plate was later captured. The number plate is with the said individuals, and you can see people gathering around the Land Cruiser, just picking and collecting food that was being dished out. And later on, it was said that somebody actually got food poisoning out of this, and it painted the wrong picture to the said MP and allegedly the DP, because it was said that this food came from them. So, as we said, there's a lot of things that are happening in the country right now, and people are doing all kind of ridiculous stuff, and they'll go to whatever extent to prove whatever they want to prove. But that's just man.
When people's lives are at stake, then maybe the DCI should actually look into this and look into it as soon as possible.
Sure.
All right. Now, the morning of May 4th, despite a court order issued the day before restraining authorities from conducting an eviction, around 8,000 people were forcefully removed from Kariobangi and their house flattened completely. Now, the Kenyan government had only notified them verbally 24 hours to 48 hours in advance and had not taken any measures of providing them with either food, shelter or access to water or sanitation. Now, these people are still camping at the land without shelter and are still waiting for the relative authorities to tell them the way forward.
Hii shamba sisi hatukunyakua, tulianza 1996 na kutoka wakati huo wote tumekuwa na kila kitu. Tumepewa kihalali kutoka karatasi ya kwanza ni kanju mpaka tukafikia title deed. Hivi hakuna ati unyakuzi tulinyakua ama tukagrab. Hatukugrab. Sisi tumeichukua kihalali. Maana sisi zote wale wenyeji hata wale hawana document ni vile mtu achukue, kila mtu hawezi chukua mara moja, lakini wengi wetu tunazo title deed.
Kuna maji ya kuoga, hakika hata kulala ni shida. Wengi wetu ambao tulikuwa mahali hapa, wengi wanaitiwa vitu baadaye watuletee, hakika wanapora wanaenda kuweka mahali kwingine. Hata hizo hakika machakula, hata pesa wanapewa watuletee, tuende angalau tulipe nyumba, hakika wanaenda nazo.
Naomba serikali isaidie hawa walikuwa wanakaa hapa kwa hii shamba. Watujulie hali, watuangalie waone vile watatufanya.
Well, you know, with the pandemic and the ministry talking about hygiene and making sure that we maintain social distance, it's a bit disturbing when you see people without shelter and they had their homes, you know, at some point. And the same government is actually telling us to make sure that we are vigilant. Someone would say the same government demolished their houses. So where are they supposed to go? All right, let's move on.
All right. You know, I had some conversation with a couple of friends who lost their jobs just the other day. And right now, the president said over 500,000 people have lost their job because of what is happening in the country and globally today. And many more if this persists will go the same way. But one of the things that quite a number of people are asking, and mostly so people who are still holding some sort of employment, is what do you need to do to ensure that at your current workplace you're almost indispensable? So we had a conversation with two experts, a HR expert and a CEO at one of the companies in Nairobi, and this is what they had to say. We are looking at a situation right now in the country where people are being let off. If you had to let off people, what are the qualities of individuals that you'll be looking out for to retain? Yeah. Because right now, to retain. Because right now, everybody is trying to make sure, every worker is trying to make sure that they are in that bracket of the best worker who can be retained. Almost indispensable to a company.
I think at this moment the most important staff is the most perseverance staff. Those who persevere when salaries are delayed, those who persevere when situations are difficult. Maybe we have some clients who are stubborn. The staff who persevere were given priority.
Yes.
Because at the moment what we need is perseverance for all of us.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Paula. As a HR expert, now here is the situation: over 500,000 people laid off. The ones who are still at workplace like us, everybody is trying to make sure that you are the best. You almost position yourself to look indispensable, so that if rubber comes, if the rubber meets the road, you're part of who of the people that your employer will say, I can't do without this individual. How do you position yourself into such a place, and what are the kind of qualities that, in your opinion and in your expertise, an employer will be looking out for?
Okay, thank you very much. So I would say the employee that will survive this change and this COVID season will be the employee who brings in value to the organization. Yeah, so right now we're now moving to a multi-skilled employee. Yes. We're looking for employees who will bring in more than your job description, what you were hired to do. We're looking for people who will think widely. People will be looking out for opportunities for their organizations. The people will bring in new ideas to bring in a new edge for their organizations. But the people who stick onto the job that they were hired for, those are the people, fortunately, who will be left behind.
Yeah.
And those are the people who you will easily be able to get rid of, because the times have changed, the skills have changed. So the employees who have been even proactive to acquire new skills are the ones who will be retained by organizations. They're the ones who will bring in new value. So the employee who brings for you ideas of the new technologies where your industry needs to move into, that's the employee you need to listen to. Not the employee who comes in to ask you if their salary will still be coming in at the end of the month. No. That's the employee you require right now. You require the employee who's embracing the change and the one bringing in solutions. So for me, I'm telling people the best way for you to be indispensable is by adding value to the organization.
Define value, just in case we have people who probably don't understand where we are coming from. Define adding value.
Yes, adding value is where most employees know the sticky problems for the organization. So adding value is where you're looking for the solutions to those problems so that your organization can respond faster to customer challenges and issues. So you adding value is where you're bringing in your ideas, you're bringing in your A game to resolve issues so that your company still remains relevant in the marketplace. So that's real value, because what happens with that is that now customers remain engaged with your products, remain engaged with the organization, and even can be able to give more referrals, resulting to continued as well as more increased business. So that's value added. But if we stick to our job descriptions and why we were hired, right now this is not the time for that. This is the time to think broadly within the organization and find out where else can I add my value.
Now, if I come back to you, Lucy, as a CEO, you agree with what Paula is saying, and how are you implementing this? I know you've said you've not had to let go any person. All you've implemented is a pay cut from the CEO all the way down. How do you see what Paula has said working out in your establishment?
Being a small organization, an upcoming organization, we happen to be all round. Because nobody is limited to marketing, nobody is limited to the sales. So everybody is doing their best. They're not just doing their, as per their JD, they're going an extra mile. Being in the garbage collection industry, we find where there's a problem, we'll come in. It doesn't matter if I'm the CEO, if it is the loader, if it's the driver. They come across a client who is in need of our services, and immediately they give them a brochure to subscribe for the services. So we are working all around, all of us.
But
I think in terms of value addition, we are all doing it.
But if again, I give you a scenario. In case you had a staff who was not doing what they're doing currently, this in line with what Paula is saying, this would be the first person you would let go?
I think we would. This would be the time to take advantage of the situation.
All right.
Yes.
Paula, let me come back to you. How long do you think this situation is going to last? Even after we reopen, the president talks about possibly reopening soon, but the downturn in the companies, this might last a little bit longer.
I think even if it opens up, it's going to take maybe 6 months to a year for even the organizations to pick back up to where they were. I think the systems, people's, first of all, cash flows have been affected. People's spending power has also been affected. So before companies and also organizations and individuals are able to go back to their old buying habits.
Yeah.
I think it will take months to a year for us to even be able to start recovering.
All
But
right.
realistically, for us to go back to where we were, where it was vibrant, I think we need to give it up to almost 1.5 years. Yeah.
All right. And for individuals who've probably already had their job, they've been affected, they're part of the statistics, what would you tell them right now?
I also believe change. If you look at change programs and even people who've undergone change,
Yes.
who re-engineered themselves,
Yeah.
they re-engineered themselves during hard times.
Yeah.
During change. So for me, what I tell people who have found themselves in that place is first of all to ensure that, yes, look at it positively and look at it as a chance to re-engineer yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, package yourself, yeah, and ensure that as you repackage yourself, you will never be caught in that situation again.
Okay.
Yeah, because I believe that we were all given a certain gifting to ensure that we are never caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Okay.
thing is to find what is that one thing that you're good at, that you can even if you're working for an organization, you need to also have something on the side
Yeah.
that will always give you a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, a backup, so that at least you're not always at the mercy of other organizations' performance.
Yes.
You see that when you're giving it to somebody else.
True.
So the thing is, I'd ask them to always hold charge of their lives, take back the control, and how they will do that, going back to either getting coaches, their transition coaches. People will help them now rediscover who they are, what their strengths are, what they can start doing now, even during this season, to repackage themselves, yeah, and then now reposition themselves. Because actually, even as we are going forward now, the fourth industrial revolution that's we're already in.
Yeah.
The skill set change completely. So,
Yes.
are you repositioning? Are you positioning yourself going forward for a new career, or will your current career, still remain relevant?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to ask right now. Use this time to repackage yourself.
Okay. All right. Your closing comment, Lucy, just in a brief.
I agree with the HR that this is a new experience. It's a new time for us to rethink of who we are, what we can do best, and how we can do it. And appreciate that any situation you are in, you can make the best out of it, no matter what. Because like now, you find everybody's working from home. Those who must travel out of the country in order to make a living are still living.
True.
So it's a good time to make use of the opportunities we have, make use of the family time, and yeah, I think that is exactly what we should look at it positively.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, ladies. Pauline Kiraithe, HR consultant, and Lucy Ngorongu. She's the CEO of Junkie Beans. So thank you very much for taking time to just tell us exactly what we need to do to survive during this period. Thank you, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Well, that was educative there. People need to be flexible. You just don't stick to your job at hey, mimi ni wa social media, so siwezi fanya production, Yeah.
True. You add value to your company, and when, like in the case here, when Leo decides that people have to go, or when that time comes, because of the value that you add, he says, I think this one, she can remain because the value she adds here, she adds a lot of value.
Wow.
Yeah, so I guess that's where the rubber meets the road. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, some guys have responded here, and I'll start by what Alice from Machakos is saying. Hey, this is the day that the Lord has made. I am glad in it. I think most of the parents have got the source of labor for the household chores. And while the children themselves are not familiar with, we do 1, 2, 3. So the children are not familiar of what they are supposed to do in the household. As I look for food, failure to that, what will happen and may maybe I'm back home empty-handed. This is the time that as parents will acknowledge and comment a good work done by the teacher. But Paul in Ephesians cautions Christians not to treat their children in a way that will make them angry. Instead, bring them up in Christian discipline and instruction. So if I'm getting Alice right, parents expect their children to help in 1 to 3 chores. Even as I'm looking for that extra money, you should be helping, maybe in the small chores. But these children are not brought up in ways that they know that we are supposed to be doing these chores. So this might just be causing some clash between the children and their parents. That is Alice. We also have Joseph from Kiserian, who is saying, people need to fear God. It's sad that a sewage plot becomes important than the livelihoods of citizens. Food is contaminated and distributed to citizens just to influence a political affiliation. Fred and Sarah, let's pray for our country. Very important there. Remy is saying it is very important and urgent that we get to talk to someone and share our concerns at this season. I know mental illness and stress is something that can be addressed. I also had some good time over the weekend as I was able to reach out and talk to my brothers. Also, I am waiting for my landlord to waive some of the rent come next month. Hence, I am with you on that, Frederick Njiri. On this global pandemic, I'm still waiting to see the effect on my life. It really hurts when we see that people are suffering and facing all manners of issues and we cannot help them. It's time to reach out and help others in need, whether in prayer, in God's word, and in giving. We have Vincent Mulinge also from Thika. The violence has been happening at homes. It's just that it is not a secret anymore because parents now have time to experience what their kids have been going through. Vincent Mulinge from Thika. He's got a great point there.
So Vincent says it has been happening. It has been happening. It's only that now it's coming to the fore. Wow, it's a tricky situation, and that's basically we have two schools of thoughts. People saying that it is something that has been there. It just needed a trigger, and the trigger was whatever period we are in now.
Yeah.
And there are people who are saying it is being caused by what we are going through.
All right.
And that's what basically people feel about the same thing. Now, can you imagine 3 weeks down the line, we still have estates in Nairobi that are yet to be reconnected back to the water supply? I wonder how some of these estates people in these estates are doing, because we experienced this, I think, for around a week, and it was traumatizing. I remember in our area we had to come together and get a water bowser. I hope a water bowser is that truck that brings water, not a honeysucker.
Yeah.
A water bowser into the estate, and we bought water, and the water that was coming out of our taps was, some strange color, and so you had to make do with that. But 3 weeks down the line, and there are estates that are yet to be reconnected back to the water supply. Now, according to the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, this might actually take longer. They may have to wait a little longer before they are reconnected to this. And wow, I wonder which estates are these, and how in the world are they surviving?
Yep.
You remember this happened on the 31st. I think that's the time the Sasumua Dam, there was I think landslide because of the heavy rains there, and there was siltation in the dam, and pipes were broken and all that stuff. It was the 31st of May, and no, not the 31st of May. It was the 1st of April, and up until now, you're looking. Oh my goodness!
Quite some long time there. If you've not been having water in your estate, maybe you can also share with us, what are these estates? Which ones are they that do not have water? Mpaka saizi. 3 weeks down the line, that's a long time. And remember that this was one of the damages that was caused by the heavy rains.
True.
But we still have some parts of the country experiencing some rain, and also in Uganda, they are actually having floods right now because of the heavy rain. So tuambie, if in your area you do not have water, just let us know. Share with us.
Actually, we may call the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company tomorrow so that they can tell us exactly what the plan is, how they're going to restore water in these areas, and how long is it going to take.
Yeah. Sure. Now, Burundi just had their election, and the man that was handpicked by the Burundi...
Hush, 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 hush. Hush, 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 hush.
All right, scratch that. We'll start again. The man that was handpicked by Burundi's long-time leader to replace him has been declared the winner of the last week's presidential election. The governing party candidate, his name is Evariste Ndayishimiye. He won by nearly 70% of the votes, but the opposition has called this result as a fantasy, and he is expected to be inaugurated in August this year.
The electoral preparation was nicely done because there was a big turnout of voters and elections were peaceful. Voting finished on time and without any problems.
Some of the Burundians do not see this as a democratic transfer of power. They think power has just been given to General Evariste Ndayishimiye. And the opposition, of course, has said that they won the election by 58% or so.
We're okay with the results, but we need to work in peace. The government has to let us move freely. Before the elections, we could move across the city centre, but now they limit our movements and it affects us so much.
We appreciate this election for sure because we can see that it went well. And you can see there is enough peace and stability.
Okay, the last time we had elections in any African country where somebody actually won, in the sense, in Africa, there's always claims of rigging.
Yeah.
I didn't lose nobody loses elections in Africa, any part of Africa.
Yeah.
Maybe South Africa, but nobody loses election in Africa. I long for that day. For the day when people will lose election and say, Frederick,
I have lost.
I have lost the election and I concede. I didn't do my job very well. I have lost. And will help this guy in ruling the country.
It's what we can say tricky sana.
Yes, it's very tricky. Anyway, it's the next story is one of those stories that you wish you can also see in and mostly so for my country, Kenya, because if we'll ever come to a point where we see leaders behaving like this, then I think we'll be very, very close to redemption. Douglas Ross, a gentleman in the UK, has resigned after Dominic Cummings' lockdown trips, piling more pressure on the Prime Minister to sack his top aide. Now, the outgoing Scotland Office junior minister said that the embattled advisor claims that he had a valid excuse to travel during the coronavirus outbreak and was not shared by the vast majority of people who had done as the government had asked. The advisor gave a detailed account of his trips to and from Durham, denying some accusation that he was there after the 13th of April, which is the time that the lockdown was done. But the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson says that he has spoken to Dominic Cummings about his lockdown breach and believed the senior advisor had no alternative but to actually do what he did.
By answering the big question that people have been asking in the last 48 hours, and that is this government asking you, the people, the public, to do one thing, while senior people here in government do something else? Have we been asking you to make sacrifices to obey social distancing, stay at home, while some people have been basically flouting those rules and endangering lives? And it's because I take this matter so seriously, and frankly, it is so serious, that I can tell you today I've had extensive face-to-face conversations with Dominic Cummings, and I've concluded that in travelling to find the right kind of childcare, at the moment when both he and his wife were about to be incapacitated by coronavirus, and when he had no alternative, I think he followed the instincts of every father and every parent, and I do not mark him down for that. And though there have been many other allegations about what happened when he was in self-isolation and thereafter, some of them palpably false, I believe that in every respect He has acted responsibly and legally and with integrity.
Well, I would love to know some of the reasons he had just to travel during a lockdown.
True.
Quite interesting there.
Yeah, true. You know, in Western countries and India also, I remember an incident in India where the transport minister resigned because a train derailed.
Yeah.
If a transport minister in Kenya would be asked to resign because a train derailed along Jogoo Road, he would say, I would rather die
Than resign. Well, that is our country. Now that you have talked about leadership, so yesterday you said you had a statement about maybe just a survey should be done to see why some of the leaders that we put in power change their behavior and do not keep any promise that they give to us during the election period. And I went ahead to look for maybe an explanation for that. So every country really needs a very strong leader. During a pandemic like what we're experiencing right now, we have to have a leader who is up and running, you know. So we have good leaders and bad leaders, but we always need to remember who put them in that position, who's the superpower. And there's one doctor by the name Dr. Peter Lilbuck. He explains that we should never forget who calls the shots. Listen in.
God is in charge right now with the President of the United States, but not just this one, every other one before and every one after, and God is working out His will. When Paul was on the Areopagus in Acts chapter 17, he said to the Athenians, God establishes the boundaries and times of nations. And so, yes, the Bible says He raises up leaders and He puts them down. Now, we don't know if that is for blessing or for judgment, but absolutely Donald Trump is leading because of God's purpose. But that's also true of Barack Obama. It's also true of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And as hard as it is to say this, even the tyrants and dictators of history, God is working through all of them. And when we have a president we don't like, the Bible tells us we're still to respect those in authority, but also call them to the higher law of God and say, are you following us? A lot of people say, oh, the Ten Commandments, God is cruel, God is mean, He's taking away my pleasure. It's not at all true. This is the Creator saying, do you want to know the best way to live? Follow my will. I know to do the right thing at the right way in the right time that brings blessings to many. That's our prayer.
Fred, did you hear that?
I surrender.
Good and bad, God is working through them.
Yes, true.
And He knows why He put them in that position. So maybe we have good leaders in our country, maybe we have bad leaders, but God is working through them and He calls the shots. Hauna comeback. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to This Is The Day. My name is Sarah Otieno.
And I'm Frederick Njiri.
See you tomorrow.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.